Hello everybody, my name is Lee Scott, I'm the founder of Vulcan Watch Straps, and today we're going to be going through what makes a Rolex so expensive. So roll the intro and we'll get straight into it. So as we do for every video then, we just want to do a quick watch check. So today I'm wearing the Rolex Submariner 116610 LV, also known as the Hulk. That's on an ice white Vulcan watch strap. That can be seen in a close-up here. As you can see, the ice white really matches with the white inflections on the Rolex dial and just really makes that Rolex Submariner pop. You can get yours at vulcanwatchstraps.com, but let's continue with the video. So whenever you hear people talking about Rolex, the first thing they will ever mention is, but why is Rolex so expensive? Well, today hopefully we're going to go through it in this video and give you a bit more of an insight into why Rolex watches are considered by some expensive. So one of the other aspects we need to consider when looking at is Rolex really an expensive watch is the amount of money that Rolex actually spend on research and development. I'm not sure if you know, some of you may do, some of you may not, that Rolex actually developed their own stainless steel, which is 904L stainless steel, and they actually, when they developed this material, the material is so hard and virtually indestructible that they had to renew the whole production line. They had to renew all the tooling to be able to cope with this hard material. They had to renew basically all of the elements of the production line to be able to cope with this new material. And this new material and bringing it in is something that other watch companies were not prepared to do. Other watch companies have made investments into their current production facilities and were not willing to scrap all that basically and bring in new tooling to be able to use the greatest materials, whereas a company like Rolex is always prepared to do that. And I think that's what makes them different, this brand. This is what makes Rolex stand out. They're willing to do what other watch companies are not willing to do, and the amount of money that they spend on research and development obviously plays into the expense of the watch. But on the other hand, because they're spending so much money on research and development, you know that you are getting the best watch out there, the most innovative watch using the most innovative materials. So another reason why Rolex could be considered expensive is because of the amount of money they spend on R&D, research and development. That all goes into the price of the watch, but at the end of the day it gives you a better product, and that's what we all want, and that's why we pay for Rolex. So another thing to be considered in the end price of a Rolex is the amount of money that Rolex actually spend on their quality procedures, testing, inspection, making sure their production facilities are all running to the best that they can possibly be to produce the best product. They use gas spectrometers to actually analyze machined parts at a molecular level, so they can actually see how the machining of the components actually affects the material at a molecular level, and they can actually tweak that process and keep tweaking and improving the process to improve the quality of the product. Rolex are known for having amazing live testing facilities where they test all of their watches. All of the watches actually are fully tested before they leave the factory and are actually certified by an independent Swiss institute that actually gives them a certificate of precision. All of the watches are actually pressure tested and everything, so you know when that Rolex leaves the factory that you have got a 100% top quality product. If there's any imperfections with those products whatsoever, Rolex will not let them leave the factory. Every single product is fully 100% hand inspected, and all of the parts and everything are individually inspected at every level to ensure absolute top quality. So obviously all of this is an expense to Rolex, which has got to be built into the end price of the product. you know, if we was looking at a product that wasn't really as renowned for its quality, you would expect the price to be lower, because they're not spending as much money on all this state-of-the-art equipment to actually finesse all their quality procedures, all their manufacturing processes, to make sure that the quality is as top-notch as it can be. So it all goes to the bottom line. So something else that obviously needs to be considered as well is that Rolex actually manufacture all of their own in-house movements. They don't buy movements off the shelf, tweak them a little bit and incorporate them into the watches like other brands do, such as IWC. Rolex will actually spend the money on, like I said before, research and development and the manufacturing processes to be able to manufacture their own in-house movements. And all those in-house movements, because the components are so small, they all have to be handmade by master watch craftsmen. These are all highly trained individuals who can hand make these watches to a massive degree of accuracy, and also because they're based in Switzerland, the labour costs in Switzerland are some of the highest in the world. So all this handmade aspect of the movements, all the inspection processes that we mentioned, and that all the labour rates in Switzerland are so high, this again all goes to the bottom line. So it makes the end product more expensive. So the final thing we need to consider then in the expense of a Rolex is the design. Being a design engineer and a mechanical engineer myself, I can appreciate the amount of time, effort and resource that goes into designing something as intricate as a Rolex watch. When you think every single component in these watches, and there are thousands of components in a Rolex watch, all have to be individually designed, A, to function the way they should function, B, to be able to be manufactured from the materials they need to last, and C, to be able to be manufactured. And thinking about that, Rolex actually have developed some of their own innovative manufacturing techniques which are not used by any other company in the world. So you can really see that Rolex are not only innovating in design, but they're also designing their own processes to be able to produce the absolute best quality product that they can. So my final thoughts on this then: are Rolex expensive, or why are Rolex expensive? I hope we've covered everything as to why I think Rolexes are expensive, but in my view Rolexes are not expensive per se. Yes, pound for pound they do the same thing as telling the time on a mobile phone, but people are quite willing to pay £1,000 for an iPhone that's actually redundant within 1 or 2 years. The technology is obsolete in some aspects of that. With a Rolex, it's designed, manufactured and built to be able to last you 100 years. You know, we've covered in other videos before that if you buy a Rolex now, chances are in a few years time the price will have increased and surpass what you actually paid for the watch. So it's basically a wrist bank, and instead of putting your money in the bank, put your money on your wrist and have a great investment there as well. We've done some other videos that cover the investment aspects of a Rolex, but in my opinion I don't consider Rolex to be expensive. But for people that maybe do consider Rolex to be expensive, I hope we've given you a bit of an insight into what builds up that cost of the end price of the Rolex. Well, that concludes today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you could please hit that subscribe button below, and if you've enjoyed the video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you'd like to hit the notification icon, that'll notify you when we upload a new video. We upload new videos every Saturday covering everything in the watch industry, from news, reviews, interviews to guides just like this one. So if you want to be notified when those new videos are uploaded, hit that notification bell next to the subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button for us and give it a big thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks again for watching. My name's Lee Scott, founder of Vulcan Watch Straps. We can be found at vulcanwatchstraps.com. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.